What's up? What's up? All right. So today we're going to talk about some stuff that I haven't talked about in a long time, actually. We have done several calls over this in the past, but I thought this was a really good topic to talk about this week. It's coming into summer. We got teachers that don't want to go back to work. We got kids going out for school, and people kind of develop this like, I want to stay home mentality, or I want to work from home mentality. I don't want to work on my W-2 anymore. So we have a lot that comes with this, right? If you're going to quit the W-2 and you're going to go full-time business, full-time real estate, full-time entrepreneur, there's a lot that comes with that people don't really think about, right? They just think about, I'm going to stay at home, or I'm going to work from home, I'm going to start this business. But then there's like all these little things they go through, right? And we personally have been through a lot of it, and the ups, the downs, the struggles, the joy, the great part, not having to clock in and clock out, all that kind of stuff. So before we really jump into it, actually, I just need to make sure my mic is set up correctly, because last time I did this, my mic jumped. Okay, we're good. All right. So if you guys can hear me well, give me like a thumbs up, give me a yes, give me a keep going, give me something here. So, hey, Veronica, I see you there. I'm monitoring the Facebook chat now. So we're live in the Facebook group, and we're live on YouTube. So I just need to pull up YouTube, and give me a second and we'll get started. So give me a second. So if you're joining us, you're watching, you're stopping by, like, please let me know where you're calling from, where you're at. We're talking about going from the 9 to 5 to full-time entrepreneur. So, most people watching this are in STRs, they're in real estate, but I would love to kind of know where you're at in your journey, just high level, location, market, what your goals are, anything like that. So we can chat about that, and then we can talk about some struggles, right? If you're having questions, if you're having struggles, something you're scared of, like, that's a big part of this, is like the mindset side of taking the leap. So we're going to really get into that too, because that is like, there's a lot of advice out there too. And, it's somebody who maybe never actually had a W-2, and they're like, well, you should just quit, right? So there's a lot of that, which is god awful, but I've seen it, I've heard it, we've experienced it. There's a lot there. So, all right, I got YouTube up. If you're on YouTube and you're stopping by and you're watching, make sure you leave a comment there. Let me know you're there. Let me know you're active, and we'll go through this. So, all right, perfect. So Kirsten said, yes, we're good, and I love it. Thank you very much, Kirsten. Oh, Veronica said yes too. So, all right, so here we go. All right, so I'll give you a little background, and we're going to talk about this. So give you a little background. I come from, I've worked night shift. I was a machine operator. I was what they were called a packer at one point. I stood at the end of the production line and actually packed boxes for like cardboard cartons. So that was a traditional, very traditional clock in, clock out. I've worked restaurant, and then from there, and I was going to school, I started being a machine operator for a big company called Southwire. And we were clocking in, clocking out, right? If you were, I remember if you were 1 minute late on the clock and you had to clock in like 7 minutes early, something like that. If you clocked in 1 minute late, you got a point. And if you missed a day, you also got a point. So if you're going to be late, you might as well just stay home. And I remember, in clocking in and clocking, if you clocked out at the wrong time, or if you forgot to clock out, you got in trouble. And these points added up. And if you got like, I can't remember if it was 3 points or 6 points, you were gone, right? Like, that was it. And so as we built through, then I started going to school, and I was working 12 hours at night. I was going to school. I remember the hustle game was strong for us. Allie was going to school and working as well. And I was taking naps in my truck. I was taking naps in the classroom in college. I was working an internship back and forth. And then I went from like that clock in, clock out, from like the machine operator to like into more of like the maintenance role and more of the electrical engineering role. And even as an electrical engineer at Southwire, I still had to clock in and clock out. I was still paying attention to my hours, what my hourly rate was, what I was bringing home every week. I was still going through all that. And at the time Allie started being a teacher, it wasn't more of a clock in, clock out, but it was it was teacher role, but she was coaching. You know, if you picked up an extra sport, it was an extra like $5,000 a year or something like that, $7,000 a year. It wasn't a lot. That's for the whole year. And so now she's working 80 hours a week. And so in between both of us, it was very tough, you know, going through that whole role. And that was before we really ever thought about like getting into real estate. Well, when we got into real estate, I was an electrical engineer at a company called Canop, and that's in Kennesaw, Georgia, and they build conveyor systems. And so I was an electrical engineer there. And in 2019, we sold our primary home and we bought, we moved into another home. We started that job and I bought an investment property. We bought our first long-term rental. And that kind of snowballed in 2019, kind of snowballed through what we were going to do, right? So we were going long-term rentals. That turned into like a BRRRR out. So we refinanced out, did a rehab there. Then we went through the long-term route, the long-term rental route, and then flipping. And through that time, I was still working at Canop. I worked at Canop, I think, 5 years or 4 years, something like that. And so as we kind of went through this and real estate started kind of entering our life and entering our minds, I started kind of, you know, I followed the bigger pockets train. I was figuring out like how many long-term rentals did I need to quit my job. If I could have 10 paid for, then that's what we would do. And then on that like path, we realized, okay, long-term rentals never going to get us there, right? We need to develop some kind of business. We need to develop some kind of something active to produce more income. And we got into like the syndication routes. We started learning how to raise money. And then at the same time, we started looking at like the short-term rentals. So at the time, I'm still a full-time electrical engineer. Allie is still a full-time teacher. We had in between having 1 and 2 kids. So as we developed through, then we ended up having Braden. So we had 2 kids. And I remember specifically a conversation that Allie and I had while we were flipping. I was working electrical engineer, and she said, on the second kid, I want to stay home. So we need to figure out what that looks like. So I said, okay, I don't care if we have to keep flipping, because when we were flipping, I was working 7 days a week. You know, between electrical engineering and flipping, it was 7 days a week. And so our schedules were crazy. Well, then we found short-term rentals, and we had a flip we kept as an STR. And we were just like, let's just try this thing, right? No real goal with it, nothing crazy. Let's just try it. So working full-time electrical engineer, still kind of flipping. And from there, we turned to flip into a short-term rental. And that house produced enough cash flow, along with some other income streams that we're kind of building, produced enough cash flow for Allie pretty much to stay home, right? Like as a teacher, you don't make a lot of money. So we were kind of able to replace that, and we were flipping. So we had like some income coming in. I was working a lot of hours, and we started focusing on, okay, like what does short-term rentals really look like? What does co-hosting really look like? What if we purchase another property? Like, what does that look like? And I was making $92,000 a year as an electrical engineer when I quit. But before I quit, my workload was so high, right? So we were doing flips and we were doing projects, and we had started buying the hotel. Like we started looking for a hotel, but we started building the co-host side, right? At the same time as we're working. So the advice that I hear a lot of people is like, just quit and jump in with both feet. Well, I had 2 kids at the time, or we had 2 kids. We have a house, we have bills. Allie's not working. She's staying home. And then we start building the short-term rental side. So we have this, like, if you quit, that's the dumbest thing you could do, right? You don't have the income levels. So now we get into this idea of like, what income level do you need to quit? And you have to think about, like, if you're quitting, right? If your bills are $7,000 a month to run your household, or $5,000 a month to run your household, do you quit if you're making $5,000 a month in your business? No, I wouldn't do that. Now, it's a different story. If you absolutely hate your job, you can't stand it, you're having stress issues, your life sucks. Like, if that's your back, like, okay, that's a different story, right? As soon as we hit $5,000, we're putting in our notice and we're jumping in both feet. That's a little bit of a different story. But I wasn't like that. I like the team I was working with. I like the people I was working with. I like the company. but I like being home and us more than I like the company. So here we are. We have a level of like what our bills are, and I want you to think about this. So if you're on the line of like, I may quit, I want to go full-time business, you need to know exactly what it takes to run your household, like down to the dollar. So pull up a P&L, create a spreadsheet, go to something like Rocket Money, and look at exactly what your bills are every month. And what could you cut down, right? Like you have kids, you have family, you want to travel. Okay. But if you absolutely hate your job, cut your expenses down. Figure out where we can work on your personal cash flow. Then look at what you make at your W-2, right? So let's just say all bills, expenses paid, it's $5K. You're bringing home 6 or 7. Let's say you're bringing home 7. Well, you want to build your income up to replace this, right? Like you want to build your business up to replace this income. However, you have to remember taxes, right? You have to remember taxes. So whatever your after your tax account, all that, what does your business look like and you're paying yourself? So at that point, once that matches, that's the first level of, that's close to the first level of financial freedom, right? You have 3 stages. And so your first stage is technically covering your bills, but let's just say it's 7K, right? Your bills are 5, your income's 7. Here is where you start thinking, I'm going to quit my job. If you have to quit your job before then, or maybe you lose your job, we're just building fast as we can to cover bills. And then here, so we were thinking, okay, we were making way more money in between flips and STRs and all that stuff than what I was making personally at my W-2 job. But I was building a team. I was training electrical engineers. I was doing all these things. And I was like, okay, I'm going to give up this, like, I don't want to say free money. That's more or less what it was, because I was training more people and I had a couple of projects, but I was training more people at that income level. Like, do I just walk out now? I can't do that, right? Like, I don't want to give this up. And what happens is you start getting these raises. Now you want to follow your personal income. You want to follow your business income. You're like, oh, well, it needs to be more. So don't get stuck in that rat race. If they're offering you a raise or whatever, just say no. And so I actually said no, which is crazy, right? But I was at 92K, or I was at 90K, and they wanted to give me a decent raise. And I said, just give it to everybody else. I don't need this raise. I don't need the mindset of like, I need to increase my other income before I can leave too, right? Because that's like a carrot in front of your face. So be careful there. If you're going through this raise process and reviews and all that stuff in your company, be careful. If you're comfortable and you're focused on your business, don't look at other job opportunities. Don't look at raises. Don't look at anything inside your company, the company that you work for. Just focus on your personal business, okay? So that's the first thing. That is a mind game trick that people get stuck in all the time. Well, I got a raise, now I got to increase my business income. No, you need to look at what you have to pay your bills with, okay? What your comfortable income is. Now, from there, what will happen is as you're building short-term rentals, you're building real estate, you're building business, you only have 100% of energy to give out, okay? You only have 100%. And what happens is when you have a W-2 job, 100% of your energy is given to that job. As you build another business, it's not like you have 100% energy and focus on this job, and then you give another 20 or 30% on your personal side. You can't give 130% of your own focus. What happens is it starts coming down. You start focusing on your other stuff, right? So, and this happened to me, and it was brought to my attention that like, hey, your performance is going down, your focus is going down. And I was like, yes, it is. I understand. I will try to fix it. I was on the phone all day at work. I was talking to contractors. I was doing this. I was doing that. And so what happened is Canop focus was here. Personal, like we had like Cherokee Rose Homes here. And as that starts going up, Canop starts coming down. So if you're in this transition of like, I'm thinking about quitting, make sure you pay attention and you're not going to get fired. Okay. You want to make sure you don't get fired. So as you come in, you want to like at least have them level. Like maybe you are trying to push that 110% of focus, right? But you work outside your hours. You work on your lunch break. You work early in the morning. You do these things to get it set up. And at some point you have to scale fast enough to quit before you get fired if that's the position you're in. Honestly, like very, very serious. Because you'll start going through reviews, and if you wait too long to scale or to build or make that decision, they will make that decision for you. So I get that question a lot. Like, how do you balance? You don't. You can't. it's almost impossible if you're actually scaling fast and you're trying to get everything done personally. Like, I know we had somebody on our team that was doing the exact same thing, and for the last month we found out like she's not even here. Like, she's not even with us. She's not even focused. She's not doing anything that she's supposed to be doing. So we realized, okay, this is not your only, you're doing something else too. I've been there. So now as a business owner, an employee or employer, I can see that now, right? So we understand, like, you haven't been here. You've been somewhere else. And it's okay. Like, been there, okay? But identifying that's important. Now, when you are the employee, you have to figure out how fast you can scale before you get fired or you quit. Now, that's the workload side. That's the balance side. And it's going to be rough if you're in that situation, in that transition, and you're going fast. It's hard, okay? So if you come to me and you're like, oh, this is too hard to do, it's like, we have to make decisions based off what we want. Do we want to be home? Do we want to build business? Do you want to be financially free? Do you want to be not time consistent? Do you want to be at the beach for 2 weeks and not have to clock in and clock out or ask off for vacation, anything like that? Like, we have to figure out what you want, what the goal is. Don't tell me like the goal is to make $10,000 or $20,000 a month and you're going to stop short of that because it gets hard. Like, of course it gets hard. It's business. You're balancing a business build, scaling, and a W-2 to pay your bills. So you have to scale fast, right? If we just play around for a while, it'll start dying and people will start noticing that you're losing attention. It happened to me. Now, on the flip side of that, I gave my company, at first, I gave them a 1-year deadline. I said, I'm leaving in 1 year. I have too many assets out there. I have too many projects going on. I have too much real estate going on. And they knew. My direct boss, really good friend of mine, knew what was going on. And I said, I'm going in a year. It was like April 2nd. So I'm going to stay here till you quit, because he was leaving to go back to Austria. He was moving back home. Excuse me. I said, when you quit, I'm going to leave the day after you. He was like, okay, cool. Well, as we come into like October, I was like, I can't keep doing this. I can't balance my time. I'm giving you guys 40 hours a week. I'm like, I just can't do this. So the whole mindset of like giving yourself a deadline is very important. But if you feel like you need to shorten that deadline, then do it. So what I went in one day and I said, and I work with a lot of people that are in W-2s. They're like, I can't do that. I can't do that. You don't know until you ask. So what I did is I said, hey, look, December 31st is my last day. It's my last day. I can't do this anymore. So December 31st was my last day. And they were like, well, you promised me an extra 4 months and you promised me this. I could quit today if that's what you want. So they said, okay, whatever. And I said, by the way, I need to go part-time. And they were like, how are you going to go part-time as a full-time electrical engineer? I was like, don't know. Let's figure it out. Let's go talk to HR. So into HR, we broke down the hourly rate. I was making $92,000 a year. I said, hey, we're going to break this down. What does this look like? Let's split it out. And they said, okay, you can go. And I still wanted insurance. So they're like, you can go 35 hours or it was 30 hours a week. I was like, okay, cool. And you can still keep insurance. I was like, okay, cool. Well, of course, I worked that down to like 20, 25. I had to clock in, clock out, went back to that routine. And that was just a waste. All of that was just a waste. I was trying to finish up some projects and just trying to give them a little bit more time, but also let me get my stuff straightened out too. Now, when the time came, I quit, right? December 31st, I was done. This was December 31st, 2023. Quit my job. So January 1st, here we go. We open up. I'm a new man, okay? And this is how everybody else is going to be. If you quit or if you have quit recently and you remember this, you go from W-2 to self-employed, and it is the exact same feeling as graduating high school or graduating college. You're like, I don't know what to do now. I have no idea. No idea what to do, okay? Well, here's what you do. Okay, number one, we have to start paying ourselves out of the business, right? A lot of people that like build the business, they just let it build and sit and build and sit and build and sit and build and sit. You have to create the habit of paying yourself. I don't care if it's $500 a month or $10K a month. I don't care. You have to create that habit, and you have to put it on a time schedule, some kind of automatic payment or some kind of reminder, something in your calendar. You're going to do finances. You're paying yourself once a month or twice a month or 4 times a month or every week or whatever. I don't care. But you have to set up that habit. So you know when your bill cycles are for your personal bills and your personal cash flow, you have to know when that starts coming over. Okay. So that's important to do actually before you quit. Go ahead and start paying yourself, right? I was working with somebody and she was like, hey, look, we're not making a lot of money yet. I was just going to let it build. I was like, I don't care if it's $250 a month. Just create the habit of paying yourself. Okay. You have to create that habit because it's a mindset thing. Money's coming in. You're actively going through the motions. All we have to do is just increase it as you make more money. Okay. Very real conversation, very real situation. Now that's rule number one. Create the habit of paying yourself. I don't care if it's $100 a month, $1,000 a month, create it. Okay. Very important. Number two, if you do not have a calendar that you live by, you better develop one fast. So use Google Calendar. We live by it. I do not operate without something being on the calendar, even if it's family time, even if it's dinner, we have softball, whatever. You start blocking that calendar. You start living on that calendar. If you are still working the W-2, which you should be still working the W-2, and you're integrating your calendar together, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to have a different calendar. Like you don't want your company to start seeing your calendar. So you're going to have your work calendar, then you're going to have your Google Calendar on your phone. And you're going to block out the times that you're working, right? So from 9 to 12 is W-2. And I used to put cannot. And then you have a lunch break. And I would put cold calling, connecting with owners, whatever, for an hour. And I would leave. I would go sit at IHOP for an hour. Then I would come back. So nobody can interfere with my business. Nobody can interfere with me, whatever. I would go to IHOP, which was 2 minutes down the road, and I would come back. Or I would go sit in my truck and just make calls. And then I would, at 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock, I would clock out. Now, when I went part-time, I started condensing that, right? So I started condensing those hours. I would leave at 3. I might just not come in this day or whatever. But those, I think I was working like 9 to 3 or 10 to 3. I can't remember the hour schedule that I actually set up. But anyways, the calendar is very, very important because what happens is when you go to graduate college and you're not doing anything more, when you quit your W-2 and you go self-employed, you think I'm going to get all this stuff done. And you're not living my calendar. All this stuff gets done. By Friday, nothing got done. I take that back. The first 2 days, 3 days, you're on fire. You're just like knocking stuff out. Wednesday to Friday, nothing gets done. Or you jump on the phone with a friend and you're like, yeah, I'm chatting, blah, 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 blah. And the next thing you know, it's 4 o'clock. And you're like, oh my God, where'd the day go? So I went about 2 weeks, 3 weeks like that. And after a while, I was like, okay, this isn't working, right? Like, I don't know what I'm doing. Or what happens is you just sit in front of the computer and you're like, all right, I got to get to work. And like, you're working on 40 different things, but you're not actually like strategically working on anything. So you have to get back to the calendar. If the calendar says lead gen for 2 hours, then that's all you're doing. If the calendar says team meeting, make sure you're on it. So you have to make sure your schedule and your calendar is set up accurately and efficiently. And you'll build through this, right? Like, make sure you have your family time. Make sure you have your lunch time. Make sure you have your dinner time. If you're playing sports with the kids, whatever, make sure you block those out because what happens, and if you're anything like me, Allie has to come in here and pull me out. She's like, hey, like, we got to go. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm like, neck deep in this over here, or like something I'm really enjoying trying to recreate or trying to do like an SOP or something for PowerPath or whatever. Allie runs mainly the operations for the management side. But like when it comes to lead gen side, that's where I kick in, right? So when we go through these things through the day, you have to make sure you have some kind of path through your day. It's your calendar. Now, if you're like, well, I go to the gym from 6 to 7 or from like 8 to 9. Okay, cool. Put it on your calendar. Don't let somebody else book over. You send out Calendly links and all that stuff for your owners, whatever. Do not let somebody book over your value time. Make sure that's every week, right? And every Sunday, you need to look at your calendar. So that's the biggest, that's the second biggest thing is number one, actually probably third. Number one, get your cash flow straight. Personal cash flow, business cash flow. Number two, start paying yourself. Absolutely, like very, very important. Start paying yourself. Number three, get your calendar straight. Like your calendar, you have to live by, okay? No questions asked. Now, as you move on and your calendar is there, right? It's operating, you're running, whatever. Get you a journal, something like Rock Thomas. I have something sitting right here. It's called the Epic Planner. If you can see that, the Epic Planner. So the Epic Planner is, I think they're $30 a piece, $20 a piece. You could buy a couple of them, get a little discount. It's like I'll tell you, it's got a bunch of stuff. So like, it's actually an older one that I have that I picked up for the note pages. But like, I don't fill a lot of this out, but it's really cool. So it's like the life plan, what your financial goals are for the year, your health, your fitness, your personal growth, your family, financial investments, anything like that. And then what it has is like, let's just say, I don't know what day this was. This was April 8th of last year. And so like you can see all your daily tasks, you can see work tasks, personal tasks, any notes and ideas. What's the big win for today? What are you grateful for? Like it's really cool. Okay. It's really, really cool. And you can set up like early in the month or early in the week. I mean, you can set up like any big things you have for the day. If you have games or you have like, hey, family reunions coming up, birthdays, whatever, you can put that in there. Okay. And you live by it. You take it everywhere. If you're traveling from property to property, put it in there. Understand like, hey, I need to travel like for us, like, hey, I need to travel to Blue Ridge for this day or whatever. I need to go meet with a new cleaner or I need to meet with a new team member or we're hiring somebody new, whatever, doesn't matter. Live by it. Okay. And that's where your calendar, I keep wanting to say content calendar. Well, that's where your calendar, your Google Calendar will interact directly with your journal. Okay. Now, once you get acclimated to your new schedule, a lot of times entrepreneurs, STR owners, real estate, whatever, we get consumed in our business. And we don't do it correctly, right? We don't do the mindset stuff. We don't refill our own cups. And what happens is we get overloaded. And this is a very real conversation, a very real situation that I see a lot. Allie sees it too. She talks to a lot of people like this too. And especially mothers, Veronica, Kirsten, I see you're on here. I see you watching. If you're a mom and you're a business owner, so like Allie runs a mompreneurs call just for literally for this reason, is you start getting overwhelmed, you start getting burnout. And I have the deepest respect and understanding for moms in business. It's hard. But this is where we have to learn how to refill our cup, right? So we do a lot of mindset stuff. Like we personally read a lot of mindset stuff. We have something called Focus that like really attacks that mindset and grows the mindset. Allie has a mompreneur call. So if you can get in a group of women doing this too, this is amazing. But like anybody, right? Any entrepreneur, but especially mothers, is you have to learn how to refill your cup. So what happens normally is people are just working, right? Hustle, grind. And they never take any time for themselves. And when I say take them time for themselves, I'm not talking about going on a week vacation, going on a cruise by yourself. I mean, go get a massage, go eat dinner or lunch by yourself, go watch a movie by yourself. I don't care. Go to the park and sit on a bench and read a book. Whatever you enjoy to do, you have to do it consistently. I would do like once a week or once every 2 weeks, depending on what it is, right? If you're going on a 3-day trip or something like that by yourself, like, you know, it's kind of like, it's probably unrealistic to do like every week or 2 weeks. But like, if you're going back and forth, so like we dropped the kids off this morning together. I came back for a call, but what we could have done if I didn't have a call that was scheduled, we woke up late, we gave ourselves some grace, whatever. But like we could have went to Starbucks and just sat there and drank some coffee and hung out. Like we could have done that for an hour if we wanted to. But you have to figure out what kind of drives that piece back and whatever like fills that cup back for you. Now, entrepreneurs generally don't do this until they hit another level, right? So 90% of all businesses never reach $1 million a year. Those that do, about 4% of those hit 10 million a year. And you ask why? Well, this is one of them, burnout, right? We're not refilling our cup. We're not doing things for us. All we're doing is sitting in front of a computer. We're trying to grow our business, and that's all we focus on. We don't have a calendar. We don't have goals. We just operate. We got our head down for 6 years. It's actually, I heard something. You have your head down for 6 months, and you do the same thing for 6 months, but you run that for 10 years. You run that cycle of 6 months. You do the same thing for 6 months, cycle over cycle after cycle. So what we do is we have to take a break, right? Take your vacation, take time with family, but we have to do it a little stuff every day, but also every week, every month, every 6 months, every quarter, something. Don't care what it is. Go get ice cream. Go get your hair done. Go get your nails done. If go to the gym, right? So like if you're a big gym fanatic, then go to the gym every day. Like that is a good release for you. So, excuse me, entrepreneurs have to do that. Business owners have to do that. If you work at a W-2, like you're just taking a lunch break, you're going to work. Like when you clock out, you're done. Entrepreneurs will take the stuff home, right? And you do the work-life integration. Not work-life balance, work-life integration. We take our kids with us places. We go travel with them. We integrate business in our daily life. So after you get all the way through, like you quit your job, you got your calendar straightened, you got all this, you'll go some time and you'll be like, oh my God, what am I doing? And this is where your operations come in, your SOPs, your team, your business building, your team building, all of this stuff comes in, because if not, you will always stay the operator in your business. And understanding and having the awareness that when you grow a business, you're the generalist. And all the way through, and this is really getting deep into like the business build side, but you're a generalist and you'll always remain a generalist. And at some point, once your cash flow is high enough, you can start hiring specialists in different sectors. So we have like dedicated revenue managers. I have 2 of them. We have somebody who just handles owners now. We did have somebody that was supposed to be handling the sales side and like the lead gen. She wasn't doing it. So we come back in and she was kind of doing some payroll and some bookkeeping. We outsourced the payroll and bookkeeping. Now we did the bookkeeping separately, and now we're doing payroll. So as you grow, you have to identify that, right? Like as you grow, you always be a generalist, because you don't become a specialist. If you become a specialist, your business will never hit $1 million a year. It just won't. You have to be able to hire that stuff out. So that will stop a lot of growth, but that will also stop a lot of people from just having business because they don't know what they're doing. Most people just stay operators. We do not stay operators. You cannot stay operators. And that's that business life cycle, right? Like uninformed optimism, informed pessimism. And then once you cross this, like that's where people scale. That's where people hit the financial freedom. A lot of people quit right here at the bottom because they just stay operators. They don't actually know how to build the business. So that's something that we really focus on. We do internally. We help others. So understanding that whole trajectory is massive. Now, if you have questions, please throw them in there. I got 3 things. So how to start while you're still employed. Number 1, we have to understand and have the awareness of the balance, right? What we're focused on. If you're just joining, make sure you go back and watch that from the beginning of like the 100% of focus. You can't give 120% of focus. You give 100%, right? So if you're giving your W-2 100%, you start growing your business, then you're at 10%, you're at 20%, you're at 30%, now you're at 50, right? Or 40%, and then 50. And you guys are like balancing between your own business and W-2. What happens is your own business will outweigh your W-2. You're going to lose efficiency at work and people are going to notice. Okay. So you want to be able to have the awareness of the scale and how fast you're scaling. It's very important or you'll just get fired. Okay. Just to be honest. The second is the easiest path to cash flow in real estate, in my opinion, is short-term rentals co-hosting. Period. That's how, like we started with the first one was a flip and then we started as an STR. Yes. But after that, we had the mindset like, we're just going to buy them all. And then I was like, well, we're going to run out of cash like pretty quickly. So let's try this like co-hosting. Let's help some owners. So that's what we did. And now we have like 25. We have about 100 doors that we manage now. We've partnered on some hotels, but we've got 25. I think it's 25 in Blue Ridge. And in this challenge that we're doing right now, we're looking to double. So we got 2 more signed. So we're 2 down, going for 23. We have to hit 20. We have to hit 2 a week for the next 12 weeks to hit our 25 goal, right? We'll be 1 short, but whatever. So easiest path to cash flow in real estate is co-hosting short-term rentals. Short-term rentals will produce the most cash flow. Talked to somebody the other day about apartments, syndications, all that stuff. I'm like, yes, you can, but apartments getting way harder to find. Syndications are getting really, really tight. Cash flow is getting condensed. Interest rates are through the roof. Like it's tough. And I learned about syndications kind of in the boom of syndications where everybody was doing it. And then you start seeing the deals getting squeezed and people over project in rents, and it's tough. And then the market shift and then you have to pivot. So like if you're going to go with syndication, okay. But, and I would go with maybe some new construction or something where you have your hands in your GP, you can do that too. But if it's a new asset, it will take time to cash flow. With co-hosting, if you're going to build an active business, then that's what you do. Now, when you build an active business, you're going to identify other things in business. And this is called vertical integration or the business flywheel. This is a very high level conversation, but as you build a business, like an industry business, like management, for instance, co-hosting, what you'll have is you'll have this main business, and then you'll have like the, vertical integration. You'll have other businesses that come in. Now, maybe it's a trash business, bookkeeping business, a VA business, whatever. So you're going to, easiest path to cash flow is identify problems in the market and you build them. Now, that's the easiest path. Now, what I would do differently if I started today? Well, it's kind of a loaded thing. Now, what would I do differently if I started today? I would start directly in short-term rentals, right? I wouldn't go the flipping route. I wouldn't go the long-term rental route. I would go straight into co-hosting. I would go straight into short-term rentals, and I would go straight into co-hosting to produce the cash flow and the experience and the confidence on how to manage properties and buy one. Okay. So I wouldn't go out and spend $2 million on my first property or anything like that. I would go that route. And if I was going to buy a property, I would go strictly creative finance, and I would learn how to creative finance the property. So when you look at it, you say, well, what would you do if you started over? Well, I would set a high goal out the gate. I would look at it and say, there's no other option. I'll get very clear with my goals. Very, very, very clear with my goals. Because if you don't, then we're not operating with a goal, and we're just operating, and nobody wants to do that. So like Allie and I hit our first goal. We had set a goal for 10K a month. We hit that in the first 8 months, and there wasn't a lot of heavy coaching behind that. It was more of just like a group, like a community. And we pushed for that, right? But we had a goal set. Now, if I was in a W-2 and I was building an active business, if I was to start over, I would set a date right out the gate. And I would say, what do I absolutely have to have? And I'd get clear on my cash flow, on my personal cash flow. What do I absolutely have to do? And I would set a date and put it in existence quickly. I would let everybody know, hey, April 1st is my last day. I'm going to be, full-time business owner, full-time entrepreneur, or whatever. Once you start putting it out there, people start kind of reverbing it back. And it creates this environment of you have to do it. And I want you to think about having the hustle. It's 80% mindset, 20% plan. But that 20% plan, without it, there's nothing, right? You can't manifest from the couch. We can't dream from the couch. If we can put a little bit more of that hustle mentality behind us, I'm not saying work 120 hours a week or anything crazy like that. Don't work harder. But if we hustled a little harder in any aspect of our life, if it's eating healthier, if it's going to the gym, if it's with our spouse, if it's with our kids, if it's with our business, whatever the hustle is, if we could bring the hustle in quicker, sooner, you can hit those goals faster and having the right mindset. Now, another thing I would do if I could do something sooner is I would get more into the mindset material sooner, out the gate. That way I could start thinking bigger and kind of thinking outside the box. Okay. Let's see. What's another thing? Just think about it's at the end of the day, it's for your business, it's for your family, it's for yourself, right? So if you start thinking about well, what is my company going to do? Your company's going to replace you. You are replaceable. They have to operate. Okay. They're not going to die. Their company's not going to suffer. We don't have anybody on our team that would actually cradle our company as long as we caught it in time. If they left, we would cradle. No, we don't have anybody like that. Except me and Allie, right? So as of today, this week, we have somebody that's no longer with us on our team. And she was a very important role at the time that we thought, and then we kind of figured out it was just not needed. Things weren't getting done, but we're picking up the pieces, and we understand that, right? We're the business owners. So now we pick it back up and we take off. And if it's time to replace her, then we will. But right now we don't have to. She wasn't doing much anyways. So, and that's how you are at your W-2, right? They're going to replace you. They have to operate. They have to continue to make money. Let's see. What else? Let's make sure I'm not missing anything. So if you have a question right now, please put it in the chat and I'll try to hit it. Let's see. Another thing. Don't And so I think something that Allie would do differently if she went back, is stop saying yes so much for your business or for your employer. Stop saying yes so much. Start protecting your time. Start saying, like, learning the word no. Allie used to say yes across the board. Can you coach this sport? Can you go over here? Can you volunteer for this? Can you pick up this? And she was like, yes, of course. Yes, of course. Yes, of course. Because her hustle game is hard, right? It's very, very high, especially when she's doing something she really likes. So I would say learn the word no. That is very, very important. And as you grow and you scale, you're going to start getting more protective of your time. So everybody wants to suck your time. Everybody. Your friends, your family, the naysayers, they all want to suck your time. Especially people who don't want you to win. They'll like try to stop you from doing something else, or they don't value their own time. So start valuing your time. Start saying no. Stop answering your phone. Like, quit answering your phone during the day. Like, I don't answer my phone hardly at all. I pick it up in the evening and kind of look. I mean, of course, if it's Allie or somebody like that, then like I pick up the phone. But I don't answer the phone during the day. So that's something that I had to learn too, is like, I get 100-something contacts a day, 150 between text message and phone calls, like 100 to 150 a day. I don't answer. I try to respond to about half, but like I don't answer them, right? You have to be protective of your time. So let's see. Anything else I'm missing? I mean, it's a full strategy to quit. It's a full mindset shift to quit. People say, well, I have this like good paying job. I have it easy. I have this, I have that. I'm like, okay, well then like, what are you doing? Why do you want to quit? Understand why we actually want to quit. Maybe it's because you hate it. I don't know. Maybe it's because you ran out of vacation and somebody got sick and you couldn't do it anymore. And you couldn't visit them and they died and you didn't say goodbye. Maybe that's the reason. Maybe it's you're missing a lot of stuff with your kids. Maybe you do have an 80-hour-a-week job and you're missing stuff with the kids. Could be that. So identifying why you want to actually quit and putting that up, making that vision board and understanding what that looks like is very, very, very important. Like, I couldn't stress that enough. So I would say if I was going to do this differently, I would have created a vision board out the gate, which I did not, right? I didn't have anybody telling me create a vision board, figure out what you want, know your why, find your desire. I didn't have anybody telling me that. So getting clear, getting your mind right, getting your mindset right, and understanding that nobody's here to save you. You are here to save yourself. So if you're going to be in your W-2 for the rest of your life, that's your decision. If you're going to go quit and you're going to go grow a company and you're going to go do $30,000 a month or $50,000 or $100,000, I don't care, whatever it is, only you can do that. So you have to figure out what you want, right? So this is turned into a motivational speech. But it's very true. All of this is very true. And it's a very, very big situation. Now, if you get fired and now you have like no other option but to grow your company, that's a little bit different. We have to avoid like the bad thoughts, right? Like the pinch. And we have to use the pinch to grow, because you start feeling a pinch when you're in that kind of situation. So let's see. I think that's it. That's probably it for now. If you guys have any questions whatsoever, maybe you're in a situation, you want to run through numbers, like, I'm not sure if this is right for me, I don't know if I should quit or if I should stay. I'm going to tell you right now, do not quit until your income matches what it matches at least what your bills are. But if you're like a high grossing W-2 and you're making $400,000 a year, your bills are only $15,000 a month or $10,000 a month. Like, okay, so you don't need to match 400. Look at what your bring home is, and then look at what you're actually saving and what you're actually spending. And then go from bottom up, find your cash flow, like what your bills and expenses are every month, and then go upwards from there. Maybe you're living a great lifestyle that you don't want to change. Okay, so build your business, but also remember, like, why are we wanting to quit? What's the biggest reason? Okay. All right. So I'm going to wrap this up. If you guys need anything whatsoever, you kind of know a little bit more about my backstory and about my, what I went through and what I'm, what we've been through together, and what I keep doing this because Allie's in the office next over. So, kind of seeing a little bit more behind the scenes, that whole mental stretch, that mental switch, I would say just know what you want. The biggest thing is like find your desire and know what you want. It's the biggest thing. Okay. So if you need me, let me know. I'm here. I will see you guys again. I'll see you on Monday. We have the Acquisitions Cafe live. So you'll see us going across every platform. We got the 90-day challenge coming on. Going on right now. Started last week. So if you're looking to grow in your co-hosting business, you want to build that service business, let me know. I can get you in the challenge. We can have a chat and figure out if it's right for you, that kind of thing. And until next time, I will see you guys later.